Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of No Reserve, Hagerty's podcast about the enthusiast car market. Now, we're here to help you make sense of the market, whether you're buying, selling, or simply watching. Now, we've got a fun show this week. We've talked about, I think, one of the most undervalued racing pedigree 60s Ferrari, a Chevy Blazer with a camper, the Honda that was the beachhead car for it in the U.S., and also an incredible Dodge Viper. I'm Larry Webster. I'm editor of Hagerty Media, and I'm joined by Dave Kinney, publisher of the Hagerty Price Guide. Now, between the two of us, we have decades of experience buying, selling, and driving the cars we love. Plus, we don't just guess at the values. We're backed by the data of the Hagerty Valuation tools. Well, everybody, we're filming this on Wednesday, July 12th. Dave, first I want to talk about, I think it was on the Hagerty website. You were really involved in this, and it's this idea that cars you could buy new and then turn around and flip is softening quite a bit. Why don't you explain it, please?
So a lot of people bought all kinds of cars new, and because of all the delays that they've had in getting new cars out, from a Ford Lightning all the way to all kinds of Porsches, and also the desirability of them, a lot of people were buying and flipping, and that era is not over. But it's time to beware that the era might be not coming to an end, but you can't expect to buy something and make 50% off of it the next day. Both John Wiley did an article in Hagerty Insider, and I did one as well. We came at it from different ways. I talked to dealers and other people, and I've had some real feedback from people that said, the days are over of the absolute flip for a whole bunch of cars. That's not to say it's over for everything, and it's not to say that there aren't cars you can buy that are actually worth more. But the market is changing, is what we're saying.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because this has been going on forever. I remember even Miatas, when they were brand new, were catching a pretty good premium. And I bet the 240Z was too, even in 1970, right? I mean, you were around then. You can remember, right?
I don't remember a premium on it, but the premium would have been $1.50. Okay,
okay.
It's a different world. So
okay, but there was like a premium for Rivians.
Yes.
It's like what's the hot thing for a moment? And you were telling me that even F-150 Lightnings, the electric pickup, they're now selling at a discount when they were selling above sticker, right?
Yeah, I saw one with what you could call a $20,000 swing because there were people that were asking 10 over for some of the Lightnings, and I did see one dealer. I was out in St. Louis over the weekend, and they were selling them for 10 off. So there's a $20,000 swing. That's a lot of money when you're buying a pickup truck. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I do. It's pretty baffling considering that both of those companies said we are going to fill this pipeline with as many as we can sell. So it was never going to be rare. What is your, over your time, Porsche seems to be able, they just came out with this Sport Chrono 911. And I don't know, Dave, I think this may be the end of the party for them because up until now, they've been able to come up with these special models and they immediately trade for more than are for sale. They offer them to their special clients. This Sport Chrono is a rear-wheel drive with a bigger turbo motor than the regular 911. But it's double the cost. And I don't know. It feels like the people are starting to feel like they're getting ripped off by Porsche. This may be the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, I think that, there's always been, not always, but in the last few years, there's been a premium for all the hot models of, and AKA the more performance-oriented models of Porsches, as well as other cars. But they build them in limited supply. So they're controlling the supply and demand, whereas Ford or Rivian, they want to pump out as many of those son of a guns as they can. So there's a little bit different of difference there. But yeah, I think a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, why should I pay 20, 30, 40, 50% over for a lot of these cars? I don't know if the era is over. I don't think it will. I think it's ending now, but I think there's going to be a little bit of, hey, why don't I just wait 6 months and I can get one when production ramps up, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's such so interesting because it's psychology. And of course, humans are irrational beings, so you can't predict it. But, when I look back at the Carrera GT, the Porsche that they couldn't sell, they said they were going to make 1,000 of them roughly. And they had a hard time moving them. And now they're trading way, way above what they sold for new. On the flip side, right now, any of these 911 variant models, they say they're going to make 1,000 and only 1,000, the Sport Chrono being one. They seem to sell quite robustly. So we're just in some sort of different era where people are still feeling scarcity more so than they did 15 years ago. Is that making any sense?
Yeah, but it's controlled scarcity. I mean, the people who make them are controlling that, and so Z06 Corvette, we haven't gone there.
Good one.
One of those cars you could buy and flip instantly. Even actually any Corvette of the first, the Gen 8 cars. But that's gone now for those, and the Z06s. We're seeing a little bit of weakness. You can't buy one at list. You can't reliably buy one at list right now. But that day might be coming. Might be coming sooner than we think. See, what happens is when the flippers get out, when the people with the deposits who say, hey, I put $500 down, when the car comes in, we'll see how the market is. If they don't think they can make money, then that car just goes right to the dealer showroom. So that's going to be interesting to see. There's a whole bunch of things out there. I was at my local Ford dealer and saw they were asking 40 over for a Raptor. And, them days are gone. So, if you went in and offered them lists, they'd probably, throw in the floor mats at this point. I don't know that for sure. Just speculating, but, that's the way the market goes.
It's a high-stakes game, Dave.
There you go. And
you think you're going to flip with these new cars, man, you're rolling the dice.
Yeah, well, for some, the dice roll's a little more dicey than others. How's that? We did have a car that sold on Bring a Trailer, or did not sell on Bring a Trailer, a 2023 Ford Outer Banks edition. It was a $62,000 list. It was a car with, let me check the miles here, I think it was 300 miles, maybe even less. Good colors and everything else, and it failed to sell below that. It failed to sell at $59,500. And this was on the 8th, July 8th.
Oh, wow.
We're only talking on the 11th or the 12th here, I guess. So, no excuses, brand new car, factory list, looking at it right now, $63,495 looks like, only got to $59,000. So, buyer beware if you're buying it to flip. If you're buying it to keep, it's a hell of a nice car.
So 6 months ago, you're saying this would have sold for above sticker, most likely,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. It's the Outer Banks V6 4-door. It's got the removable top. The doors come off, all that fun stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's still summertime, let me remind you. So, it's the time to have one of these things. So
the Bronco's hotly anticipated model. They had, all through the pandemic, severe shortages of chips. So these cars sat in lots. I mean, you saw the things up in the blog posts and everything with acres and acres of these things just waiting. A friend of ours, Colin Comer, got one, and it had sat in that dirt lot for 7 months, and his car was filthy. I mean, it had dirt everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's how the pent-up demand was. But just in 6 months, what I think you're saying is, nope, that demand has been filled. Now these are just performing like any other new car.
Hey, guys, supply meets demand when they're still building them. And, guess what's coming out next? The 2024 Ford Bronco Outer Banks, if they make it. So, I don't know if they're going to make the Outer Banks edition. I'm sure they're going to make a 2024 Ford Bronco V6 4-door. So, if you're buying to flip, buyer beware. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So we moved into the opening bid segment. Thank you very much for that great little segue, Dave. And that was one of the cars that I know you wanted to talk about because it does bring up to mind, some of the risks in doing that. And the other one, though, that you have in there that I think is super interesting is that 250 LM. And tell us about this car. Tell us about why you wanted to talk about it.
Well, this was a sale in France by Arcurial, which is probably the best known of the European houses that sell automobiles. The European, specifically French, I guess I should say Bonhams is better known. But it sold for $15,771,000, which, I'm sorry, that's in euros. So in dollars, I think it's $17,165,000 in dollars. This car was listed as a no sale not too terribly long ago by the same auction house. It's something like $23 million.
Oh, wow.
They brought it back and decided this time they're going to sell it, and that's what it brought. Now, this car has zero race history. Very, very, very important in the world of Ferrari LMs. I mean, they're the 250 LM named after the Le Mans. So this was kind of, maybe your backup car. there's something good to be said for that because it's never an as raced as
that's what I
crashed
read.
version.
Yeah,
But this is
pristine.
cheap money. This is cheap money. It's 17,165, which is, I'm pulling that out of my head. I think that's right. But you have to keep in mind, in Europe, you have to pay the value-added tax. So that's another maybe 17% on top of it, which, boom, puts us in the $20 million range.
This is where the Ferrari market is bonkers. It makes no sense to me. The predecessor to this car, the 250 GTO, which, had, 2 or 3 series, they're $60, $70 million cars. Right?
Sure. Right.
And then the 250 LM, the car that came right after it, won Le Mans in 65. This model did. It was the first mid-engine Ferrari. Still had the Colombo V12. It was fantastic looking. You don't have this big heavy engine over the steering wheels because it's manual, so you could actually drive it. I don't understand why these they just seem very undervalued to me, and I think you're saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think so as well. There haven't been a lot of sales. Everybody knows about the GTO and the GTO club. And keep in mind, that's, 50, 60 people who own GTOs who go out and regularly drive them. Some of them actually own replicas of their own cars, which I just love. If you have a $60 million car, you can afford a couple million to make a replica of your car, right? So, they'll take them out on events and they'll go, to wineries and fantastic hotels and stuff like that. The LM doesn't have it. And let's be honest, the LM's got a lot more kind of complications to it. I don't think it's as fun to. It's a mid-engine car. It's not the. It's not the Ferrari formula. Okay, I'm not going to argue with you because I think we're both right on this one. The LM should be worth more. And when one comes up with a great race history, I think we're going to see it, absolutely floor the crowds because I think the great race history would make a big, big difference in this car.
Yeah. So I don't know what I wonder about is that appreciation for this model going to change over time or not? And the billionaires, let's call it the billionaire boys clubs that buy and sell these things. That seems to me a group that is very concerned with the status and buying the right thing. And once something is hard as not quite the right thing, like it appears as 250 LM is, I'm not sure that it will respond. It would take like the big papa in that world to buy one and talk about how great it is, and then everybody might jump in. I feel like there's a sheep following in that kind of market. You've been watching it more than me. Am I onto something here, or am I totally out the line?
No, I think there's something to be said for it. I mean, it's the velvet rope line thing, right? I mean, no one's really created the I have an LM and so does, Bill Gates. I mean, he doesn't,
right.
But
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
So does this Hollywood star or something like that. Tom Cruise or whatever. And then, then that train would head out of the station at full steam. But right now, you're right. I mean, there's a good argument to be made for this car should be worth more than the $20 million. I'm going to count this car as a bargain.
Me too.
When you add in the value added tax on this, I'm going to count it as a bargain. It's a real car, a known history since new, and unlike the race cars, it probably has more original parts than the race cars. It just never had a famous driver having his butt in the seat of the car and was pounded for 24 hours at Le Mans or whatever. So
I've never driven any of these. Let's be straight. But I've heard several things. The 250 GTO, it had a front engine V12, very heavy engine over the steering. Steering is manual, so it's going to be heavy to steer. This car, of course, the front end is going to be a lot lighter. And then Chinetti Jr. So this car was raced by Luigi Chinetti Sr., and he's the one actually, I think his team won Le Mans in 65.
NART, the North American race team. Yeah,
North American,
exactly.
With a 250 LM, and they had one as a dealership. Junior told me, he's like, that was the best car that Ferrari made in the 60s. He said he drove the thing everywhere, drove it in the snow, drove it to Chicago, from New York, all over the place. So that's kind of where that's flavored my thinking of it. He's a huge fan of these things, and I think he would know. So, I agree.
The Kinney name in America is synonymous with, or was synonymous with Ferrari for a very, very long time, all throughout my childhood. So, but of course, that was when the Earth was cooling, as we all know. So, Hey, speaking of Ferraris, we have a production Ferrari that was offered and sold on Bring a Trailer, a 67 Ferrari 330 GTC. I happen to think the GTC is one of the most versatile of
Beautiful
the 60s.
car.
Yeah, versatile of the 60s Ferrari. They actually had a further series called the 365 GTC, which they made very, very few of. But this car was on Bring a Trailer and sold for $678.01. I want to know who put the extra dollar in there to make sure that they got it. $678,000. Looks like a really, really nice one. No news here other than the fact that this is basically what the price was in our price guide. So no surprises here, but it's always good to see that a lot of these cars are going for the expected number. It's got the Classic A Red Book. It's got all the right stuff. It's not a perfect car, but it's a really, really good example in great colors and kind of that, I'm going to just say Grigio of some sort, the gray with the tan leather. I really like the GTCs. I've driven a lot of them because back in the day they were less than valuable cars. They come with things like air conditioning, a Becker AM, FM cassette, all that sort of stuff. Not all of them have it, but it also has last car to have the knockoff wheels, the wire wheels, because when the Daytona came out, they went with the disc wheels because of the extra torque and power. They were worried about wire wheels. Bet you didn't know that.
I did not know that, but I agree. I mean, there seems like there's a lot of these, let's call them streetcar Ferraris of this era. Some have weird proportions, to make sure larger rear seats. This one doesn't have that. It's quite a good-looking car. You get the basic seam driveline that was powering all the race cars at the time, right? The Colombo V12 with a 5-speed stick.
You got it. And, front engine,
Yeah.
This happens to be a 2-seat car as opposed to a 4-seat car, like the 2+2 would be in the same market. So it's basically, you could think of it as a 330 GTS coupe, the GTS being the Spider. Very similar cars, although not the same, because, the coachwork was, kind of looked the same at the front, but deviated a lot in the rear. But
Yeah, we talked about a
cars.
Buono not too long ago, and this is a much better looking car.
I'm going to have to agree on that. Yeah, absolutely.
And the Buono is worth more, right?
Yeah, at this present time it is. I don't know why. I'd so much prefer a GTC. There's
such a pecking order in the
know.
Ferrari status
I know.
community, like we were just talking about before. And it's really interesting. It doesn't always have to do with the merits of the car. It's just what that group perceives as valuable, right? I mean, as a watcher, that's what I see.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I own a Ferrari that's out of favor right now, and I love it, and nobody's going to convince me otherwise. And I think that's the way anybody should own any car. I mean, if you're into the coolness of the blank, go for it. And kind of speaking of the coolest car that you and I should have
Dave,
bought.
can I?
Yeah.
Because I am in your boat, right?
Okay.
I bought the ugliest of ugly duckly Ferraris. I happen to love it. It's a 75 308 GT4.
Yeah.
This car, that same Kinney Jr. I was talking about, I asked him what he thought when he saw it. He goes, that was the worst thing ever. I immediately called my dad and said, it's time to sell the dealership. Ferrari's lost its mind. But as our friend Camisa just pointed out on our YouTube series, if you want a 308, it's the one to have. It's longer wheelbase. It's got none of the stuff that the later 308 had. Fuel injection, it had higher weight. They made fewer of them. There's only 1,500, yet they're worth less than the Magnum PI 308 car.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you could drive it without having a mustache. I mean, you don't have to be Magnum PI to drive that car. Very much unloved cars, but that's
they drive well.
If we have one thing that people should remember is that the unloved car of today can become the most the most coveted car of 10 or 15 or 20 years from now. So there you are.
Well, Camisa pointed out, which I think is worth pointing out, is everybody said, well, Ferrari had it to sell this car, and they didn't like it, so they called it the Dino. And he didn't even want to put the Ferrari badge on it. And Camisa made the point, you got to be kidding me. Nothing was more important to Enzo Ferrari than his son, Dino. He had two things in his bare office, and one of them was a picture of his son with a light over it. And to call the car Dino was the highest honor he could have done. I agree with him.
Absolutely. I can't believe somebody would know so little about the history of Ferrari to say that the Dino was was some sort of diss. You're absolutely right. I mean, Ferrari was devastated by the loss of his son. Absolutely. So yeah, you're right. So you're okay. So we've done the commercial for your car. So we've made it worth more money. So
the fickleness of car people is comical.
Cool people like Larry Webster, like the 308 Dino. You should
and
too.
And Camisa, he's got one too.
Okay, well, Camisa, he totally is cool. We can agree on that. So yeah, so cool people like Jason Camisa and Larry Webster own a Ferrari 308 Dino. You should buy one too.
Dave, they're the best driving cars, Ferraris in the 70s.
I'm doing that in my AMSR voice, okay? So that like people falling asleep watching or listening to this will get the subtlety. They'll go out and they'll buy a Dino. The market will go up. You're going to be rich, Larry. Rich, I tell you.
Well, I don't want to be rich. What I need, and I'm just going to ask you and anybody out there, we need somebody that can make us an exhaust with equal length pipes. It's a flat plane V8. It's transverse. It does not sound like it should. This same motor, when they swapped it north-south, I think in the 348, sounds awesome. So that's what we got to fix. Otherwise,
okay. If your last name is Borla and you're listening, and here's your marker. Call Larry. He'll buy 3 sets right away. One for Camisa.
Dave, thanks for indulging me my sideways. What were you going to talk about? I know you're trying to get me.
Okay, so the coolest car of the week for me goes to the 76 Chevrolet K5 Blazer Cheyenne Chalet Camper 4x4. Now, hopefully everybody's got a visual in your head and they're, listening to the podcast. We're going to have that, that visual up there. Sold for $29,500, just a few days ago on Bring a Trailer. We're heavy on Bring a Trailer this week. I don't know why, but, this one just fascinates me. This truck is a Blazer with a slide-in camper bed from General Motors. I've seen so many of these things out west, and the fiberglass is basically melted away in the sun in that great fiberglass way where it's got all the, the webbing visible and all that sort of stuff. This one's a pretty darn nice one. It's got plaid. It's got plaid seats. Come on, 29.5.
So well preserved. Yeah, people forget the first gen Blazers. You could remove the top.
Oh, yeah. So why didn't we buy this? What is wrong with us?
I think it's $30,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that just seems like a lot of money for that.
I don't agree.
Okay, you think this is okay? How many people want this? Right, that's always a good. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to camp in it? I don't know.
So it's me. I'm the publisher of the Hagerty Price Guide. Okay. The editor of the Price Guide, Greg Ingold, likes these, and then the guy who bought it. So there's 3 people in the world who like these. So, it's a market. It's a real live market. So,
Well, it's funny, Dave. Let me ask you this. This is a special version of the Blazer. They made hundreds and hundreds of thousands of the K5 Blazer. The funny thing is that really hides how many survived in original condition like this. So even though that's not that many left, so that's just 2,000 or whatever, 30,000 is a great deal because it's a very rare car.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly rare because, like I said, a lot of people just took the thing off and basically threw it away when they were done with the camper. And, campers get kind of grody after a while. Let's just tell the truth here. So, if this one was used for hunting, you don't want it. End of sentence, because, obviously everybody goes hunting. They really just go to drinking. And so it would have been a mess. So anyhow, but yeah, I mean, a nicely preserved one of these, I think that this is a real, everybody's going to look at it and have fun and got some, maybe some memories, not about this one. They were kind of rare back in the day. I mean, I saw a few on the road, but I don't remember seeing any in lots. Yeah, the camper ones. Absolutely. Absolutely. So.
But, what's interesting here, I think, is that this camper is probably, how many are out there that are still in this shape? I mean, a handful. But it really did not add to the price of this Blazer as sold today, because a pristine Blazer of the same year is probably going to go for around $30,000 itself, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, I don't think
that's what's weird about this.
They didn't pay a big premium on this, if they paid any premium at all. So,
no, not to get the camper, but I mean, just looking at that interior with that plaid seat and how nice a shape it is. I mean, I'd like to know how much they redid it, but the underside looks like it was a desert car. I mean, amazing machine. And I see what you mean. You're saying great bargain. So, yeah, why didn't you buy it, Dave? What are you doing?
I was busy with something else. Whatever. I'm going to make an announcement in 2 weeks about the car that I bought, so everybody can make fun of me. But I haven't.
Is it another Avanti?
The check has not been cashed yet, shall we say? So I'm not saying no hints,
and I agree.
Hints at all.
You never want to talk about a deal until you've got the car because you're jinxing it, right?
Absolutely. There's something that's going to happen, so I'm not talking about it. But you can rib me about it in 2 weeks. How's that?
I can't wait. All right.
Okay.
Let's move on to the upcoming auctions. This is our section where we talk about cars that are for sale right now and are kind of interesting. What's on your list first, Dave?
Well, I'm going to skip around a little bit because, we got 4 cars to talk about. I'm going to go right to the Hagerty marketplace and talk about a 97 Cadillac Eldorado that's for sale. Now, 97's kind of the strange-looking year to me, or, that era is strange-looking. Yes, unique. And it has the North Star V8. We don't need to talk about that. Everybody knows about the North Star. But it's got 7 days ending. It's got 1,584 views, and it's at $1,600. Okay, it's an Eldorado.
Wow.
It's an Eldorado. Yeah. Go take a look at this because, like I said,
saw it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the right color, right?
Teal green.
And this is the height of luxury. Like you're so wealthy, you don't even need to carry anybody, so you're only going to get a 2-door.
Yeah,
that's the way you roll. So yeah, this car, it's a New Jersey mobster special all day long.
Oh no, and this is the refined mobster special. This is the son and daughter of mobster special. Come on now.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it's going to go for a great price, and there's tons of value in here because this was when Cadillac was really energized their engineering. And after the 80s and the cars were a little dodgy, come the 90s, they were really making really good cars. Now, this is not a Canyon car by any stretch, but super duper comfortable, great air conditioning, right? It'll keep your beer cold. And it's just going to be a fun, interesting car for not a lot of money. I agree. Do you see these going up?
Well, I bought one of these. No, I don't. Not for a while. They will in a while, but it's a buy and hold car. I bought one of these from my father-in-law back in the day. He had nothing but AMC cars and Nashes. I mean, because he was an old guy. And I told him about it, and he said, I just don't see myself as a Cadillac man. And I said, are you waiting for somebody to give you permission to buy a Cadillac? And he said, well, maybe that's what it is. I said, Bill, you can buy a Cadillac. It was the happiest thing he ever did. I'm serious.
No kidding.
He thanked me 1,000 times. He said that Cadillac. He drove it to Florida and back like 9 times. No maintenance. Oh, yeah. None at all. It was great. So, anyhow.
Dave, I like the idea of you in this big caddy because I like the nickname that keeps feeling like it's going to stick for you is Big Papa. It just is, Dave.
All right. I'm coming to Monterey, and I'll bring fake $100 bills so we can just make it rain. How's that?
Okay. That sounds good. I can't wait.
We got another one that's for sale right now. Back to bring a trailer, a 4,900 mile Dodge Viper, 2014 model SRT Viper Coupe. This is a car with a difference. It's already at $79,000. A lot of money, but a lot of car. And this was back in the era when they were making the last Viper, and then wait, we're gonna make some more, and then we're gonna make some more, and whatever. And the funny thing was, I fat-fingered this the other day, and I said 2000. I just went on a search, 2024 Viper, and there were like 10 articles about Stellantis bringing the Viper back, and I'm like laughing because it's like, yeah, probably not going to happen, but you never know. This is the car that wouldn't die, Dodge style, so it's been back. A really nice-looking car, silver with the gray interior. Worth checking out.
Yeah, this generation Viper has such a great backstory. And I remember because we wrote about it in our book, Never Stop Driving. And you remember Chrysler was one of those that went bankrupt in 2008. And they had like a shotgun marriage with Fiat. They were killing everything that wasn't making money. And this was Marchione, who's passed away, but, he really is kind of what saved it. And Ralph Gilles, who's now head of Stellantis Design, super duper car guy. They gave this to, he was not an engineer, but they gave it to him to say, see what you can do. And there was he told me, just a real internal skunkworks group that said this car cannot die.
Yeah.
And
And also another car that should never exist, because why would a big car company make this? And I love that backstory.
But they made it. They made it. They talked the bosses into it. And then I remember when it rolled up on an auto show stage and Ralph went up there and he kissed the fender. And it was so meaningful. He was just like, he told me he was driving it up on the stage crying because they'd worked so hard and so late. They wanted this car to survive. And so, to your point, it's already highly valued with a lot of time left. But I mean, if you think about the car for the money, it's 640 horsepower. It's an all aluminum V10. It's 6-speed gearbox. It'll drift for days, super fast. It's going to be a huge car, I think, in the future as well. I think these cars, especially, you remember those ACR versions of this?
Oh, yeah,
rockets,
absolutely.
Absolute
Trek
There's some monsters.
Great, I mean, I think the Viper, why do we do this to ourselves? We make great cars in the United States, and then we don't love them as much as we love the exotic European cars. And, that goes for Corvettes, that goes for Vipers. There's some great buys in Vipers. I mean, I think that, out there you can buy the most basic early Viper that will rattle your teeth out and you'll smile the whole time, when you're driving it, to some very complicated cars later on and some great, kind of limited editions that they did towards the end. Some of them a little bit, maybe too much, but still great cars. I mean, the limited edition part of it was too much, not the car itself.
Yeah, those first-gen cars, I think, trade in the 30s. And that makes sense to me because they're terrifying. I mean, they don't even go straight. I mean,
they absolutely are. But a whole bunch of us want that in a car, right?
Yeah, maybe you want that. I mean, I just remember driving one. It was in Michigan. The thing was all over the road. I was like, oh my God, it's going to kill somebody.
Yeah,
but I guess that's part of the fun. So yeah, it's going to be a big sale, and deservedly so. But then the ACRs are probably the one you want of this generation for sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. Hey, 1978 Honda Civic CVCC Coupe at Meekum, Harrisburg. Now, that's local to me, so I can drive to that sale. Now, why would I pick this, Larry? Think about this. Why would I pick this?
I could guess if it's a technological tour de force. They were meeting emission regs without cats. They had a really innovative combustion system. Yeah, CVCC.
And you are I'm starting to think that you're smarter than I actually thought you are. So that's
no,
really
Dave, that's
great.
wrong. No.
Okay. 16,500 miles on this bad boy. We had one when I was a kid. My dad bought one, not because of the CVCC. It changed everything when this car came out. Well, the American car companies and a bunch of other car companies were lobbying around the world about environmental controls, saying, the cars are getting fatter, they're getting, whatever, we can't make it work. Here's this little small company out of Japan called Honda, known for motorcycles, but not for motorcycles. And they kicked ass with this car. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. They did it through engineering and not through base horsepower and not through putting all kinds of horsepower on and then subtracting from it by taking emission controls and adding it on. So I think this is one of those cars that should be up there with the Ford Model A and the Model T and everything else. It was a game changer. Now,
absolutely.
We both agree on this, right?
Yeah. But, my connection to these is a little bit different, very personal. One of those times I was doing something that I don't think anybody should do, but I was hitchhiking. It was late at night. I was outside of Wilmington, Delaware, and one of these pulls up.
And Hunter Biden was inside. Oh, wait, no, that's a different story.
No, this guy he was so big, Dave, he'd taken out the driver's seat, was sitting in the driver in the back seat.
Oh, no.
And I was so scared. I was like, thanks, man, but I'm going to walk. And I shut the door and ran. I don't know. It just so unnerved me. Does that make me a bad person? Here's this guy trying to help me and I rejected him.
I think when they do the Larry, when they do the movie about you, Larry, that's going to be like the opening scene, don't you think?
Yeah, it's still to this day. But I mean, to all your points, I feel so bad. I wish that guy was just trying to be nice. It was like 1:30 in the morning. There might have been a few bars before this. I mean, who knows? I was really, or maybe not. Maybe he was out for something nefarious, and my radar did me well.
The night of Larry's dreams turns into the night of Larry's nightmares.
Well, it was a nightmare. I was by myself hitchhiking. I didn't know where I was, trying to get back over to Baltimore. So anyway, was this car a stick shift, by the way? The one for sale?
I'm gonna go double check. It's a 4-speed manual, yes, sir, and it's blue,
Oh,
which
wow.
is perfect color for the era, right? It's 16,500 miles. These cars do not exist.
I know, and it's a unicorn, but it's so hard to put a value on this
Yeah,
because it's still at the
absolutely.
end of the day, 83 horsepower,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they do shift really nice. They drive really well. You sort of get that initial impression, like, oh wow, in 1978, Honda was making things above and beyond. This is when the Japanese were really starting to say, like, we're coming for you, America, and it's not going to be pretty. Like,
Yeah.
this was the Trojan horse in many ways.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it was. But you know what? If I was an Acura dealer right now, I'd be bidding on this. I'd be in Harrisburg bidding on this and put this in the showroom, or a Honda dealer, either one, and just say, yeah, this is kind of where it all came from. You can have your Honda 600,
interesting.
you can have your Beat,
Yeah.
you can have all this, but this was the production car they sold the living you-know-whats out of. So that's
Can you make a guess?
daylights, by the way.
What do
Yes.
you think? What's your guess going to be? I'm going to say 10 grand.
I'm going to say 16.5.
Whoa.
So yeah, $1 for 10 cents for each mile. 16,500 miles, $16,500. So there you go.
I tell you what, Dave.
Dollar for a mile.
Can you go to this auction and then I'm in for 6, and then if it happens to go for 12, you and I we split it. Would you do that for me?
If I'm there, that'll happen. But somehow I think I might be otherwise engaged that weekend. So sorry about that.
You could figure something out. Big Papa knows. He knows people.
Hey, let's wrap this thing up with a Corvair. What do you say?
Oh my gosh, I love Corvairs. Tell me.
64 Corvair Monza 900. It's a 2-door. 64. Does almost everybody my age have a connection with a 64? The Monza 900 or just a Monza? I know I do. I remember everyone's mom had one, back in my day. This is car again at Hagerty Marketplace. $1,400 with 9 days left to go. 1,694 views right now while I'm looking at it in real time. Red, it's everything you'd want in a kind of inexpensive collector car. These cars were really advanced engineering for their time.
Totally.
Everybody, Ralph Nader, all that sort of stuff. But hey, $1,400, you can't have more fun for the money.
These are totally unappreciated cars. For the reason you get it's a flat 6, just like a 911, aluminum, air cooled.
Yep.
They're for the time, and you drive any American car from the mid 60s, they are lumbering heffalumps. They're terrible. You drive this thing, it's light, it feels like a Beetle, the steerings, it stops. I have a lot of history with Corvairs because I did a video where I tried to see if it would flip. I wanted to see how bad it was because that's what...
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody was saying that, in Nader's book, Unsafe at Any Speed, where he talked about a lot of things in addition to the Corvair, he actually called the VW bus the most dangerous of them all. Right? You're in this little tin can with only 37 horsepower.
Sure.
I think he was right. And these cars, they oversteer. And what that means, as soon as you turn the wheel, if you turn it, if you corner fast enough and whatever you do, the back end's going to slide. It's the nature of the rear suspension geometry. And I just think that caught everybody off guard. And the accidents were bad because they go into the ditch backwards. They might roll. And of course, the roofs weren't very strong, crushed people, a lot of deaths. I mean, it was unfortunate.
Yeah, well, and speaking of rear-wheel drive cars that with strange suspension geometry, somehow the Porsche 911 survived as well from this first original. Yeah, from those first original series. This thing's claimed like a 37,000-mile car. In sold new in Wisconsin. Come on, check it out. So
yeah,
go ahead.
Well, Dave, one of the things about cars is, especially old cars that need to be considered, is the amount of club support.
Oh, yeah.
And the Corvair has a super active club. The folks here in Michigan and the Corvair, they actually are so active. They go out every couple of months, and the group of them, if they know of a Corvair, it's sitting in the garage, it's not running, the owner can't get it running, they go fix it for the owner, just so it's out there working. I mean, a big knowledge base. Yeah, super cheap. I mean, again, like the Cadillac you were talking on Hagerty Marketplace, this is just one of those cars you could have a lot of fun with, and it's never going to hurt you. What are you going to? Yeah, go ahead.
I think our assignment for everybody is to check out the Viper Coupe on Bring a Trailer, and also the car at Mecum Harrisburg. It's a fun sale. All the Mecum sales are fun, and then the 2 cars on Hagerty Marketplace. So, it's going to be an interesting sale. I want to see what I really want to see what the Honda Civic sells for.
Yeah, and my assignment would be go drive a Corvair. You just need to kind of know what they're about, and there's a reputation. Go watch our video on Hagerty YouTube. You can kind of get a better sense. A lot of those cars, I think that Corvair was a sacrificial lamb. It definitely had flaws, but all cars did at that time. They were pretty dangerous. So, it ushered in Nader's book, really got people thinking in a way that I think in hindsight was useful, but it was painful for that car.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a death knell, but people started thinking, look, we have better cars every single year, and it's because we care about things like that, and so whatever the fun cars from the 50s and 60s, it's a completely different animal, and we enjoy that as well.
Yeah. So Dave, we're in the middle of July. We're about a month away from sort of the biggest, one of the largest times for United States classic car auctions. That's the Monterey week that ends with Pebble Beach. I am feeling a lot of optimism coming into this auction. The cars that are going to be for sale there's a lot of stuff, pretty incredible machinery. Is this people you think going, I'm going to get the highest I can right now because things are going to change, or is this just the general kind of froth in the market?
Wow. Interesting question.
Okay.
I know that I think that things will do very, very well at Pebble. I don't think we're going to be coming out of Pebble with, wringing our hands about anything. I do think that the marketplace is changing, but then again, the marketplace always changes. You can say that about, just about any market. I think it's going to be happy days at Pebble. I'm concerned about, the time after. But like I said, I've always said this. My crystal ball was made by Lucas. It's out for repair again. So I'm not real sure what's going to happen. But that reminds us all to buy what we like, buy what we enjoy, and drive those cars.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like you've got your unloved Ferrari. I've got my unloved Dino. But I just love it. Not concerned. That's not why I bought it. Anything else you want to add before we say goodbye? Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Yes, car show season. So get out, even if you go to the local one, even if you go to the show and shine, even if you go to the Cars and Coffee, which are always great, always fun. If there's a local, if you're local to a Concours, get your butt over there and take a look at some cars, talk to some car peoples, have some fun while the sun is still shining in most of North America.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave. It's great chatting with you. Everybody, thanks so much for listening. Enjoy this time, and we'll catch you next time on No Reserve.
You take care.